Lucy leaned over the wooden bridge and looked down into the stream. The woods around it were full of bluebells and white wild garlic, the smell of which filled the air. "I'll ask my father if he can make you some boots, or at least something to cover your feet for the summer. We've plenty of leather about the place. It's about the only thing we do have. Mum says we've no money, and she's worrying because she's got another baby on the way." Lucy sighed and threw a twig into the stream from an overhanging tree and watched it float downstream. "No, don't worry about me. I'll be fine until autumn comes, and then I'll be old enough to go and work for somebody, and can bring some money home for me mother. I can just about read and write, so that's a lot more than some can do at my age." Archie leaned over and looked into the river, then turned and smiled at Lucy. "I'd better get back home. My mam'll be waiting for me. We always go and see my grandmother on a Sunday, and she's an old stickler, and we'll both get a good tongue-lashing if we're late for our dinner. It's the only decent meal we get all week, so I'm fair looking forward to it. I can almost smell that boiled brisket, and happen she'll have made Yorkshire pudding if we're lucky." Archie slurped as he nearly dribbled into the stream, thinking about his one good meal of the week. Lucy waved as she watched him take off back through the spring undergrowth to his home, high up on the windswept moor. He was a good friend to her, and she felt pity for the near penniless soul that he was. "Well, has the church saved your soul again for another week?" Bill Bancroft looked at his daughter as she kicked off her boots and sat down next to him in the small kitchen of Providence Row. "I don't know why your mother makes you go. It'll not help you in any way. God's never done out for me." "Be quiet, Bill Bancroft, and thank him for what you do have, which is a lot, and you know it." Dorothy folded her hands and looked at her daughter. "Have you been crying? Your eyes look red." "I fell out with Betty Robson and her friends. They were calling me names," Lucy whispered. So much for religion," Bill muttered. "You take no notice of them, Lucy. You give them back as much as they give you. Everybody's the same on this earth. We all have the same habits and needs." Dorothy turned and went to the drawer where the cutlery was kept and started to lay the kitchen table for dinner. "Father, I walked back from Sunday school with Archie Robinson today. He had no shoes on his feet, as they can't afford any. Could you make him some, do you think? With plenty of scraps of leather about the place." Lucy looked up at her father, hoping he'd say yes. "Nay, lass, I can't make shoes. He needs a cobbler, and brass, and you should know that." Bill shook his head. "Then will you take him on in the yard this back end? He'll be old enough to work for you then. He'd be 11 in September." Lucy was going to help her friend out, one way or another, of that she was determined. We'll see. I can't promise, but we'll see." Bill looked at Dorothy. The Robinson family had fallen on hard times, but they weren't the only ones who were struggling in the bleak surroundings of the Worth Valley. Bill and his family were just scraping by, but at least there was always food on the table, and his family were dressed and shod, so far. "Go and get changed out of your Sunday best, Lucy, and then come down for your dinner," Dorothy said to her caring daughter as she checked the pan of boiling potatoes on the hearth. Lucy got up from sitting next to her father and gave him a quick hug before climbing the stairs to her room. She loved her father. Even though he drank, he was always there for her, whereas her mother was always nagging or chastising her. Once there, she sat on her bed and looked out of her bedroom window at the Flay Pits and tannery that blighted all their lives with their smell and filth. She hated where she lived. And she hated being the lass from the Flay Pits when she said where she was from. People wrinkled their noses and pulled a face at her. One day she would be free of this place. She would meet a wealthy man and marry him, and then she would breathe in clear air and would have pretty dresses and ribbons.